need to look at what racism has brought to the table, especially from 1492 when the Muslims or the Moors were destroyed in Spain. The first wave of people that went to the Caribbean islands came from Spain itself. This is before they even went into West Africa. So the first populations that were enslaved in the Caribbean islands were Muslims.
We wanted to spark a bit of a reaction, like we wanted people to engage with the conversation. Like I'm quite ignorant, I'm not Muslim, like I'm quite ignorant to even the Black Muslim cause. So it was very fascinating for me when I spoke to a couple of the people from the UE Somali Society and found out how they felt about their identities, etc.
No white person's better than a black, no black better than a white, other than with your actions and through your piety.
In becoming Muslim is when I faced actual racism, which made me question like, oh, what is this? This is confusing. I thought we were all one. I thought we were the same thing.
There's an Arab slave trade of sub-Saharan Africans, of black people, in the same way that there's an American slave trade. And that itself has residues in the way that you look at the relations between the continent of Africa and people that will be labelled as black and the Arab world today. You look at the way Ethiopian maids are treated in places like Saudi Arabia.
There is, the Islam itself does not make any difference between any human being, whether it's brown, black or white. But we Muslims are. We make this difference. Why? Because we are away. We are away from the book of the truth. We are away from what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said.
Perhaps it's more nuanced than that. Like you can't just offer a Quran to everyone and say, read it. And you're going to change your opinion because people want to interpret the text for their own agendas, and being racist is one of them.
I think we have to kind of question race relations and the question of does Islam like black people beyond just what the Prophet said and beyond the text and beyond the fundamentals of the religion.
Somalis didn't feel accepted by African and Caribbean society, and I don't know if this was, I don't know if the lack of acceptance came from the fact that we were Muslim or because we look a little bit different to the stereotypical black person.
Do black people, non-Muslim black people, do enough for black Muslims? I think that's a really interesting point because perhaps black people are in even more proximity to whiteness than black Muslims.
Maybe we should focus on the things that we share in common rather than the things that we differ in. Because we'll actually find that, whoa, there's so much more that we have in common than these little things that we do differ on.
Like, there's white supremacy, and it's strong, and it's destroying the globe at the moment, I'm not gonna lie. And there's climate change, and there's all sorts of nonsense going on. There's some people of colour states which have huge, massive climate emissions, there's varying degrees of wealth within people of colour states, etc. But there are Muslim states who are suffering hard under white supremacy and who are at the bottom of the rung. There's places like Yemen, which is going through one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world at the moment, and which is really in a bad state. The whole continent of Africa, from Somalia over to Nigeria, over to Niger, is currently impoverished and is getting exploited by states like the UK, like France, like the US, etc., for resources, for all sorts of stuff. And if we're going to fight this, then there has to be some kind of united front.
It is a sad tragedy that people perceive and think that people that are from Africa, they're new converts. They just came to Islam, or they don't know Islam, or Islam has just been brought to them, or da'wah has been just given to them. Whereas we know for a fact that the Prophet ﷺ sent his companions to Africa before he sent them anywhere else. They settled there, they lived there, they traded with the people, they understood the people, they did da'wah. We know when Amr ibn As, for example, he comes to Africa, essentially wants to sort of go against the Byzantine kingdom at the time and fight them. He cannot do that. He needs to tap into resources that are local. And the resources that are local are the people that live there, the Qibt or the Coptic people that live there. And he actually develops a policy, in essence, of actually an inclusionness. And this is why Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu covers such a huge land mass in such a short time and conquers a lot of that land. Because why? The Muslims that converted, the Muslims that became part of his army, the tribes, the locals, the kings, the tradesmen, people who knew where to go, where not to go, where to settle, where to give da'wah, actually were at the forefront of his army. And same thing goes for with Uqba ibn Nafi' when he comes to Africa. And we're talking about still in the time of Umar bin Khattab and the time of Uthman ibn Affan, radiallahu anhum. And Uqba ibn Nafi', what does he do? He includes the Berbers. He has a similar policy as Amr ibn As. He talks to the Berbers. He includes the tribes of the Berbers. He actually makes them part of his soldiers. He gives them regiments, and they in turn go out and conquer and become the Muslims who are spreading Islam. And again, once more, we see the dynamic that Islam again spreads through the Maghrib very fast, unnaturally fast. And then it's again when Uqba ibn Nafi' is replaced and our policy stops, that we do not see that spread again, and that stops. And so we know from historical anecdotes, if we just want to say the dry history accounts, in essence, that when Islam has arrived in Africa way before anywhere else in the Hijaz, beyond Mecca, in essence, and when it arrives with the army of the companions and it spreads, it's through the means of Africans embracing Islam, taking it and the ownership of Islam and spreading it and giving it da'wah. And it's a really, really a misconception, and it's a denigration of Islam itself as well, to talk about always and see Muslims from the continent as some sort of a newcomers. Because what you denying essentially is your history. And in the history, whether you're an Arab or an Indian or an African or an European, it doesn't matter who you are. Your history based on faith is underpinned you knowing the truth, the haqq. And the haqq comes through these historical anecdotes. So why are we denying a piece of our history based on modern racial construct? This modern racial construct and post-colonial construct, it has been really bad on our psyche in terms of the way we think and our identities. I deal with a lot of Muslims, whether they be black, white, no matter who they are. And we talk about this. And whenever we talk about this, there is an amazement. Why are you amazed? Are they not people like anybody else? Can they not achieve things? Can they not learn? Do they not have aql and intellect just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon the progeny of Adam, no matter what their color or shade they are? It's an inherent sort of a racist view that we have, and we need to sort of, every time we see that, tackle it. And wherever we come across it, in us and outside, we have to sort of tackle it.